Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting, the Thursday, December 14th, 2023, regular meeting of the City of Webster Groves Board of Adjustment to order. Tom, would you please call the roll? Here.
Okay, I'll read the roll. Deb Sahlberg,
Here.
Randy Sprague, John
Here.
Burse.
Here.
Okay, all's working. Mel Wilson,
Here.
and I'm Tom Walsh.
Thank you. This evening, we have two petitions, and we will take each one of them separately. The order of presentation will be as follows. The city staff will present testimony regarding the facts of the request. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their request to the board and address questions, followed by any individuals here or online who are in favor of the application. Then we'll ask for anyone who wishes to speak who's opposed to the request. The board will then close public session and open for board discussion and decision. The proceedings are recorded. We do ask you to speak clearly and one at a time. We will vote on the applications tonight. The approval takes 4 out of the 5 board members' approval. As you hopefully understood, Mr. Burse, the 5th member of our board, is online, so he will be able to vote. Tom, would you please read the powers relative to the variances?
When by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property as of September 20th, 1956, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition of a specific piece of property, which condition is not generally prevalent in a neighborhood, the strict application of the area regulations of this zoning code would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties to or exceptional and undue hardship upon the owner of such property. The board is hereby empowered to authorize upon an appeal related to such property a variation from such strict application so as to relieve such difficulties or hardships.
Thank you. Would you please read docket 2403 into the record?
A petition submitted by Robert B. and Mary T. Rickert for an application for variance from section 53.063C1 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 1.09 feet from the minimum required 8-foot east side yard setback in order to reconstruct a covered porch on the existing structure that will be located 6.91 feet from the east side lot line at the subject property. The property is located at 427 Saddle Spur Road within the A3 10,000 square foot residence district.
Thank you. Mr. Buntrager?
Before we call testimony, I would ask that to be included in the record exhibits 1 through 9, which are shown right now on the screen, which are exhibits in the packets that have been provided to each of you and the PowerPoint displayed in front of you. We would ask Mara Perry to testify.
Mara, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Mara Perry.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am.
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 427 Saddle Spur Road?
Yes, I am.
Is that located within city limits?
Yes, it is.
And in which zoning district is it located?
It's in the A3 10,000 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2403?
So the applicant's requesting a variance of 1.9 feet from the minimum required 8-foot east side yard setback in order to reconstruct a covered porch on the existing structure that will be located 6.91 feet from the east side lot line at the subject property.
And which municipal code sections apply to this request?
So the code section that applies in this case is 53.063 A3 dimensional regulations, subsection C side yard setback. Item number 1, the minimum side yard setback shall be established in the following manner. There shall be a side yard on each side of the building having a width of not less than 8 feet for residential structures.
Can you explain the existing conditions of the property?
Yes, I can. There on the slide in front of you is the boundary survey of the property. The house was built in 1953. You can see the house outlined in a orangish color, and there is a existing covered patio, which you can see off the rear of the house. In this slide, you can see the side of the property that is in question. The house was built a little too close to the property line. It was built at 6.91 feet at the back corner of the house. It is actually a little bit farther away at the front corner of the house. But the required setback for this particular property is 8 feet. The request is to rebuild the structure at the 6.91 feet for the rear back covered patio. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. There is an architectural drawing in your packet. You can see here, because again, it's only 1.909 feet. Because of that, you can kind of see a little bit closer where the 6.91 feet is versus the 8 feet. And even closer here, the red dot is where the post is being asked to be replaced. If it was just over where the green square is, that would meet the code for the post itself. Because this is not an enclosed structure, there's no other question related because they're not putting screens on it. There's not going to be any walls. The code does allow a roof line to go up to 2 feet into that setback. So the roof line is not in question either. It really comes down to just this one post in the request. The applicant has provided in his packet some photos. One of the photos that you'll see in the packet, which is the one on the right-hand side, he did take a brown piece of paper to show the orientation of where, if they met the zoning code, the column would sit in relation to the part of the house that is enclosed on the back side of this covered patio. And there are additional photos. So the column in question, I'm going to try to look over here, is this column right here. That is the one that is currently too close to the side property line. And that is all.
Did you get to the other points there? Anything else you need to add?
Nothing.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Perry before we ask the petitioner to speak?
So I think we should just make sure we know that the house sits in the east
The house sits in the setback. Correct.
as it's this post.
Correct.
And just to clarify, the roof line that's proposed is not in question. This is simply a post
Correct.
that is required to support this structure that is really the only thing that's at variance.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Who's here tonight for docket 2403? Please come to the podium. Would you please raise your right hand and state your name?
Bob Record.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. I feel pretty prepared. patient and the so I wanted to start out to say thank you very much. Probably I'm a 40-year resident, been in this house, you know, the 70-year-old there. So I haven't done anything except replace those cheap panels on that terrible roof. And I'm dying to get rid of that cheap roof. I've done to the house because it's 70 years old. I've always got permits. I remodeled the kitchen. Of that, but that sunroof room was kind of unique. It is outside of the foundation, but it is under the roof. And I've been told it's a hip style roof, but the roof was built that way. So it's, you walk out of the garage, the back of the garage, into what used to be a sunroom. It had jalousie windows, paper thin walls, and I renovated that, got all the permits, et cetera. And put 6-inch walls and then those nice windows and the patio and the French door and everything. It really opened it up to the back of the house. So that post that's in the corner, I think it's visible, where you saw that board up to the sunroom is definitely part and parcel to this design. I do have my architect here, Mr. Jeffrey Bum, so if there's any technical questions about what I just brought up about the corner post, I would ask him to speak to that. Okay. So the design of the roof was something that I worked with Mr. Bum, and we tried to match the existing roof. I'm told it's not a saddle roof, it's a hip roof. And so the front of the house has these little buck outs, and I'm trying to match that on the back side. So the garage, which is directly north of this and on the other side of the sunroom, has a little extension, and I'm trying to match that because I thought the architectural integrity of the house was going to be nice for the neighborhood and also for the neighbors. With that regard, I spoke to the neighbors and shared the drawings that Mr. Bum had, and they were all excited. And I have letters from all 3 neighbors in the packet. One of them was going to come tonight and talk to it, but I think the holiday schedule caught up with them. So all the neighbors are impressed and supportive. So I think the hardship is really the location of the house is noted. That's where it was built. I think many of the houses in the neighborhood, like mine, have a 1-car garage because the developer really cookie cuttered these things and put them all pretty close together. So I think a lot of the homes in my area probably don't today, but anyway. So I'll try again. No, I'm good. I'm not wanting to build anything in the setback. I just want to kind of extend out where the existing plastic roof is and put a real roof up there and just kind of match the roof line, et cetera. So I think it's a great design. Again, the neighbors were enthusiastic. It really improves the neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood, and this is a great enhancement to the house in the neighborhood. And with that, get back.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Riker?
Just just a comment. You're not planning to make anything any bigger? You just want to put the poster right back where it is currently,
Yes.
so you can do your project.
The
Happily-
footings, well, I want to be clear, the footings will be out another. They won't be with padding. Instead of chopping up the padding, the proposal is to go out a foot or 18 inches and pour the footings. So in that, not to the east side, that's just to the back of the.
Yeah, just to the back, not toward the east. Yeah,
Nothing to the east.
right. And you're not going to make anything bigger or anything like that. You're just, right. That's what I heard you saying, and it sounds like you put a lot of effort into this project and a lot of thought. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions for Mr. Reichert?
No.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of docket 2403? John, you didn't have any comments, did you?
No comments or questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition of docket 2403? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll close the public session of this petition and move to board decision. Could we have a motion for docket 2403 to start discussion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve the requested variance for a 1.09 feet from the minimum required 8-yard east side setback at 427 Saddle Spur Road as per docket 2403.
Second.
Second that.
Okay, so Tom, you've made the point that he's not extending anything any further into the setback. He's just attempting to replace, and we've been on the board long enough to understand that anytime you do structural changes that don't meet the setback requirements, it requires a variance.
So I think he's got a peculiar circumstance because of the fact the house and this particular post was already in the side yard setback.
I would agree. And frankly, if you look at the lot, it actually is a little bit triangular. If the house were just back 3 feet, you wouldn't even be coming here. And so I think that there's a little bit of a hardship in the placement of the house, plus the fact that the roof line that's going to result is well within code. And I think that's a reasonable exception.
Anyone else want to make any comments before we call the question?
Well, I'll call the question.
All in favor of docket 2403, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Your request has been approved.
You want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, call the roll. I'm sorry.
All right, roll is being called. Debbie Sahlberg,
Aye.
Randy Sprague.
Aye.
John Burse,
Aye.
Mel Wilson,
Aye.
Tom Walsh votes aye.
Okay, your request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. Thank you very much. You too. Thank you. Tom, would you please read docket 2404 into the record?
Docket 2404, a petition submitted by Joe Davison, Datto Works, on behalf of Matthew and Jamie Scott for an application for variance from section 53.063C1 of the zoning code of the city of Webster Groves. The applicant is requesting a variance of 0.37 feet from the minimum required 8-foot west side yard setback in order to build a 1-story addition on the existing structure that will be located 7.63 feet from the west side lot line at the subject property. The property is located at 461 Bacon Avenue within the A3 10,000 square foot residential district.
Thank you. Mr. Bontrager?
For the record, we would ask to be included exhibits 1 through 9 listed in front of you. That includes the exhibits in your packet as well as the PowerPoint presentation on the screen.
Thank you.
We would ask Mara Perry to testify. Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Mara Perry.
Are you employed by the city of Webster Groves?
Yes, I am
In what capacity?
Director of Planning and Development
What are your duties in that position?
to administer and execute zoning regulations.
Through your work with the city, are you familiar with 461 Bacon Avenue?
Yes, I am.
Is this within the city limits?
Yes, it is.
In which zoning district is it located?
It's in the A3 10,000 square foot residence district.
What is the applicant's request in docket number 2404?
Before I get to that, I'm going to point out that I flipped the numbers up at the top of the PowerPoint. It says 416 Bacon instead of 461. So I just want to put that in the record. Sorry, a little fast with the PowerPoint today.
Advertised 461.
We did.
And we-
I read
and we
46.
And you read 461. I just noticed that our PowerPoint up at the top says 416. And it will for every one of the slides. The applicant is requesting a variance of 0.37 feet from the minimum required 8-foot west side yard setback in order to build a one-story addition on the existing structure that will be located 7.63 feet from the west side lot line at the subject property.
Which municipal code sections apply to this request?
So the code section that applies is 53.063 A3 dimensional regulations, subsection C, side yard setback. Item number 1, the minimum side yard setback shall be established in the following manner. There shall be a side yard on each side of the building having a width of not less than 8 feet for residential structures.
Can you describe the existing conditions of the property at 461 Bacon Avenue?
Yes, I can. So you have a copy of the survey in front of you on the slide. The existing house is shown in an orange color. The house was built in 2006. You can see here that the house was built 4.5 inches into the side yard setback. This particular zoning district has an 8-foot side yard setback. And that existing attached garage was built just a hair over the setback line. So the applicant is requesting, as they are doing an addition to the house, most of the additions that they're doing, it's a larger addition, but the one wall that would align with the existing wall of the west property of the house, in order for it to align, would need to be at 7.63 feet versus the 8-foot setback. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. So they are doing other additions on the house that all meet the, in terms of some additional space above in the upper portion of the house. But as they are proposing to move the garage, so the garage is sitting farther forward, and then they are taking the existing garage, which is already located a little too close, and using that for additional space for the interior of the house. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see there's things that they're doing on the interior of the house on the floor plan, but this would essentially create or move the garage forward on the lot, still meeting all of the other zoning regulations in regards to front entry garages that are allowed on the lot and where it is in relationship to the front elevation. So again, I'm sort of pointing out, it got to the point where you all know I usually put my red line of where it doesn't meet the code and the green line of where it's supposed to go. Because it's only 4.5 inches, those lines are pretty much overlapping on top of one another. And in your packet, you will see there are some renderings of how it's going to look once the structure moves forward. And again, I'm going to just point out there is a dormer up above, but because that one meets the setback, we're not having to address anything above the single story part of the addition, which is why we advertised it in that manner. There are also photos in your packet of the existing house, and I'm available for any questions.
Could you go back to the slide showing the red and green lines? I just want to,
Oh, yep.
so part of the existing house does not meet the setback. And we're not quite sure why 20 years ago that happened, because usually we're talking 60 years ago, but
Yeah,
but things slip through and 4 inches is not much.
yeah, 4 inches is not much. And back in 2006, and even then, we do not require a developer to come back with a survey when they're putting the foundation in. So it probably would have continued to move forward
Even now.
even now.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Perry before we?
So the proposed addition is really just kind of straight forward from the back portion. Existing garage. And
Turn your mic on, turn your mic on.
on ahead. So the addition is just coming straight forward, which makes sense to me. But just wanted to get my thought in the record there.
Yes, that is correct. It's moving straight forward. It's going to follow the existing western line of the house and connect directly into the addition.
Any other questions or comments before we move on?
Is it actually further from the property line at the front than the wall is where it meets the existing
I-
front of the front
You
of
are
the existing
correct. I
garage?
believe it sits ever so slightly, but we usually try to advertise the worst case scenario just to be safe.
Makes sense.
I would note that the adjacent property at 465 Bacon is owned by Jonathan Bruntrager, and he has no objections.
Are you sure?
I'm confident. I'm not going to use his language because it's not appropriate for here, but he said, don't mess with the project, or something to that effect.
Thank you. Who's here tonight regarding docket 2404? Would you please raise your right hand, state your name? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is is the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you to the board for reviewing our request. We do feel it's minor and reasonable, a matter of inches, not feet. I hope that you've had the opportunity to read the letter that was written. There's no compromise with regards to fire life safety. We do feel it would be a significant improvement to the proposed architectural solution. The location of the original home as surveyed presents a hardship to the owner and their ability to expand their home and create a seamless transition between existing and new. I will note that the homeowner's intent is to re-side the home. So there will be a new siding covering from existing to new. And when set with a 4-inch offset would really create an architectural solution that I think the city, the homeowner, and the neighbor would all probably be unhappy with in the end. So our goal here is to do the best, not just for the homeowner, but also for the community and the neighborhood. And I believe that's all I really have to say, just that this design embraces the intent and spirit of the zoning code with the architectural and urban fabric of the neighborhood in mind. Also, seconding the previous applicant's notion that the support of the Webster zoning planning and zoning department is kind of critical in these applications and helps things go smoothly. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Davidson? John? No questions?
No questions. All very clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here tonight in favor of docket 2404? Do you want to speak, sir? Okay. Is there anyone else in opposition of for docket 2404? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move to board discussion for this matter. Could we please have a motion to start discussion for docket 2404?
I'll make a motion that we approve the side yard variance of 0.037 feet for docket 2404 located at 461 Bacon Avenue.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Does anyone want to start discussion with any comments?
I think once again, I mean, this is sort of a peculiar circumstance that such a small variance is needed. And it seems very reasonable, and the circumstances are just sort of odd, and I'm leaning toward approving this.
Yeah, it's another one of those pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
Right, and I would agree that to remedy it, to have a portion or move the entire house over 4 inches is borders on being ludicrous and certainly doesn't meet the aesthetic that one would hope for. This is a small variance that seems very appropriate.
I agree.
Yeah, this has been stated pre-existing, so.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the current owner.
Absolutely.
All in favor of docket 2404, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Tom, would you please poll the board?
Debbie Sahlberg,
Aye.
Randy Sprague.
Aye.
John Burse,
Aye.
Mel Wilson.
Aye.
And I, Tom Walsh, vote yes.
Your request has been approved. Please see city staff during regular business hours for your next steps. Thank you very much. And I would like to second, Ms. Perry, that we do appreciate both the work that you do with the applicants so that, you know, we only see, we don't see lots and lots of variances. And we also appreciate the presentations that you make, because it really does make it easier for us to understand.
It's nice really having this here too. I gotta
Yeah,
get
they-
used
they-
to reading.
I didn't notice so much, you know, I mean, I was trying to turn mine off all the time, but I didn't notice too much reverberation.
I didn't either.
Maybe it's because there's not 10 of them.
It could be. It could be.
I would like, I have a commitment that came up today on January 11th. So I was wondering, you know, I could either opt out of the meeting because Ms. Perry does say we have an agenda, or we could consider another night if that would work for the other board members.
Does anyone, I can check and see when the room's available, and look for some additional days that it would work, and send that out to the board and see if we can get a quorum for a different date. Because I have not advertised yet, obviously. The deadline was today.
Well, I can't do it the 10th.
Okay.
But any other night, Mel's busy, the second and.
That whole week is when our comprehensive plan consultant's going to be
Okay.
in town.
You just
So I may
assume
be,
not- You just.
Well,
assume
we
not.
also, we have
but-
2 other alternates and we have our other main member. So I'm not as concerned.
Right. And like Mr. Buntrager said earlier, before we started the meeting, I don't have to be here.
Right.
But if it's possible, because it sounds like it's going to be an odd variance, because we have not heard a use variance.
Yeah, I looked back through all of the Board of Adjustment petitions back to 1955. And there was only one use variance in all of that time, and it was denied. So
What brings about a youth variance?
a use variance is when someone wants to do something that is not in the code.
Mm.
So they are asking for, rather than going and rezoning the property, they're asking for a very specific use for a particular piece of property within an area that's already zoned. And I'm not going to go into much detail about it, but we walked through the various scenarios with them in regards to various options. And out of the 3 options, they picked this as their option.
Think of a zone piece of property, there are permitted uses, there are uses that are permitted with the CUP. They're permitted uses, uses permitted with the CUP, and uses that aren't contemplated by either would require a use variance in order to abide by the.
And that's what they're coming to this board for. I would certainly like to have the most experienced people we have available for that meeting. And I think Debbie is one of those people that
Yeah.
I think would bring a lot of expertise to the table. I would prefer that, and I'm happy to
Oh, and
reschedule.
so would I, yeah.
I would be very, well, and all, there are other ones here too. But my point being that I'd
Aw.
be happy to reschedule to really assemble the best group we can for what could be a
Right,
difficult
and
question.
like I said, except for the 10th and the 11th, my
Okay.
January's open.
So I'll look at a couple different things. We didn't get any petitions in for Plan Commission for January. So we might just try to steal January 8th possibly, if that would work.
That would work for
What
me.
day of the week? is it?
It's a Monday.
Probably works for me.
Oh, yeah, I have more than enough time to publish because technically Board of Adjustment, you only have to publish 5 days in advance. And I usually try to do it even more than that. So in case we have a problem, we have time to advertise a second time.
Now, the Webster Kirkwood Times is not publishing the week between Christmas and New Year's. As I was reading my Webster Kirkwood Times this evening
Yes.
before the meeting, but they will publish, my understanding, next Friday.
Yeah,
correct?
so what we can do is if I at least get the ad. Oh, they're completely, okay. I could still potentially get the ad to them and get it in for the 22nd. They work with me. So even though technically tomorrow is the deadline to get it in, a lot of times they will give me until the Tuesday before at noon. So I should be able to, but first we need to confirm. So Plan Commission, I have no petitions. So we won't, I'll be talking with them about not having a meeting on the 8th. So we could take that this time because I already have the room booked. And so we would be able to potentially move to the 8th. John, are you available on the 8th?
Yeah, looks like I'm clear on the 8th.
Okay, I'll send something out in the morning.
Everybody here is clear.
Mel's
right?
not clear.
Mel's not.
Mel has a
Mel's
meeting.
probably
I
got
mean,
Oh,
it starts-
Yeah, I
I would-
firmly have a meeting on the 8th, yeah.
It starts at 6, and so she wouldn't be able to be.
But we do have Chuck and we have Andrew and then we have BJ.
Right.
So we do have at least multiple people options to get our 5th person. Okay, I'll send something out.
Although
in
I'd
the-
hate to miss something so exciting.
I know.
You can always tune in with Zoom. You
Yeah,
know,
I'll just
you can
have it
switch-
on during,
Switch off.
Yeah.
that meeting, you know.
Yeah, totally. I will work on that. I will get that to everyone. And that is the only petition that came in. It came in at 10 minutes to 5 today.
Well.
Okay, so
Can
I
we have a
move
motion?
we adjourn. How's that?
All in favor?
I,
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
John, if you can still hear us, Merry Christmas.
And to you, and to you
Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear us. Happy holidays.
likewise. See you next year.
All right.
That's right.
If